First of all, I wanted to thank everyone for joining us. My name is Justin Baker. I'm the VP of Partnership Development here at MentorCity. And from the team of MentorCity on the call, we've got our president, Sean Mintz. We've got Brian Anderson, who's our senior account manager. And we've got Princhit Gupta, who is one of our sales account executives. So we want to just welcome you all. We're really excited about the topic that we have to share with you today. We'll talk a little bit more about it in a second. We're even more excited about this panel of guest speakers that we have that are joining us today and spending some time with us to talk about a little bit more about the topic that we're going to be sharing today. And also equally excited about this new feature reveal that we're going to be sharing a little bit more about later on in today's webinar. So once again, thank you all for joining us. Really appreciate you carving out some time out of your day to spend some time with us today. One of the first things that we'd like to kind of get started with that we typically tend to do on our webinars is a little bit of engagement with the audience. So we thought we'd pose the question to everybody today, and if you want to pull up your chat, I think that's probably the best way to share the responses, is how are you currently tracking statistics from your mentoring program? So either we are, we're not, or we want to. If you want to extrapolate on either of those answers, by all means, but really curious to hear where everyone. So I'll give everyone a second to kind of type in some responses. And certainly it'll help us gauge a sense of the audience and certainly for our speaking points moving forward. But it's always interesting to learn more about where everyone's at. Okay, so we want to expand. Okay, we already are using Excel. Okay, great. MentorCity, okay, starting a brand new program, looking ahead to metrics, fantastic. Okay, so that's great. A lot of great kind of unique perspectives. We want to building a new program as well. Okay, fantastic. No, really important. So that's really exciting. It's nice to see a lot of different kind of perspectives in terms of where people are at in kind of their evolution of tracking stats and in mentoring programs. So appreciate you taking some time to share that. We're starting a mentoring program into, okay, fantastic. And please feel free if anyone else wants to share, if we haven't gotten to it yet, we'll be taking a look at the notes later on. And if there's any way that, certainly if there's any way that we can help out, by all means, we'll talk about that later on. With that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and jump into it here. We're just going to go ahead and get started with the presentation itself. I'm just going to share my screen. Just give me 1 second here. All right. So today we're kind of spending some time talking a little bit about the topic of telling a story through data and leveraging ultimately the power of MentorCity to do that. A little bit about us, if you don't know about us, we've been around over a decade. We're an intuitive cloud-based mentoring software that cultivates the future of organizations and the individuals in and around it through the power of relationships and community. One of the things I thought would be interesting to talk a little bit about today when we talk a little bit about leveraging data within mentoring programs to help tell a story is when we look at a little bit about the manual method of extracting data from a mentoring program and comparing it to how we can accomplish that on a platform like MentorCity. And it's interesting because, based on some of the feedback, some of you are in or transitioning from perhaps that manual mode. So it'll be interesting to kind of do a little bit of comparison here. So in manual method, when we're pulling data from programs, typically we're using Excel or paper-based documentation to track the program and to, look when we're trying to pull out data. That's where we're looking to pull data from, is typically those sources. With MentorCity, all of the interactions, all engagement is logged and tracked on the platform. In the manual mode, we're typically tracking down data and feedback from mentors and mentees, which is extremely difficult. It's very time consuming, and there's the element of human error. When we look at MentorCity, it's easy to report on successful program launches, engagement, gaps in knowledge base, etc. And we'll show a little bit more about that later on. Admins can easily manipulate reports and pull data out at any time. And there's traditionally a fairly minimal time investment. Certainly in the setup mode, there's a little bit of time investment to, make sure that you have the visibility around the topics that you want. But once everything's set up, it's really just plug and play, taking a look at your reports, at your charts, and being able to start to pull those stories out. In the manual mode, we're typically limited by the data capture points. So there's not a lot of data capture points that we can tap into. And please jump in if anyone has any questions, as I can see that something popped up in the chat. As we're going through, raise a hand. Happy to pause as we're going through if anyone does have any questions. Again, going back on MentorCity, real-time reporting allows us to track results and progress as we go. So we're able to have our finger on the pulse of the mentoring program or whatever type of programming that we're using the platform to deliver and see how things are going as it relates to the important KPIs that are what we want to have visibility around. Ultimately, in manual mode, there's unknown results. It limits the organization's ability to address key gaps and bottlenecks. Whereas if MentorCity, we can use reports to tell various stories that allows organizations ultimately to pivot and adjust based on the results and ultimately get stronger at a core. With MentorCity, some of the interesting things when we developed the platform is we wanted it to empower our users with out-of-box analytics. So we have a set of built-in analytics that we empower users to be able to pull data out of the platform as soon as it ultimately goes live. We have intuitive reports that are built in, so there's no need ultimately to tweak anything or set anything up to be able to tell some really interesting stories. Our standard setup will empower us to do that and should ultimately position that mentoring program for success. Now, with that being said, one of the exciting things that we're going to talk more about today is moving from out-of-box analytics and moving towards things that are more important to your organization and more customized and relevant to some of the metrics that you want to do. And I guess that's a sneak peek of our sneak peek, but I'll save that for a little bit later. What I wanted to do, instead of me and us just doing a lot of talking today, what we thought it would be really interesting to do was to invite some of our clients who have so graciously, carved some time out of their day to volunteer and spend some time with us. And what I'd like to do is not only thank them, obviously, but introduce them. So what I thought we would do is kind of take a moment and let each of our panelists take a moment to introduce themselves, the organization that they work with, their role, and perhaps share a little tidbit on our biggest pain point before MentorCity was ... and I'll let them fill in the blanks. So ladies first, Janet, if you want to introduce yourself and get us started.
Thanks, Justin. Hi, everybody. My name is Janet. I work for the Canadian Credit Union Association. For those who aren't familiar with us, we're the trade association for Canada's credit unions. My role is the senior manager, learning programs and digital experience. And together with my team, we ensure about 40,000 learners across the country at credit unions coast to coast have the training and the development opportunities they need to advance their careers. And those folks are supporting almost 11 million Canadians. So it's lots and lots of people being touched. My work and my role includes overseeing our national mentorship program, which is, I guess, why I'm here. So back about 16 years ago, when we started our mentorship program, as Justin mentioned, we tried manual for a while, paper applications and phone calls and personal meetings. As was mentioned, we found it costly, time consuming, and for us, we couldn't grow the program. Our pain point was it would not scale. We were limited to 25 matches per year. And then on the other side of that, we started to become very concerned around the fact that manual matching, whether you intend to or not, introduces personal bias when you're actually selecting who is matched with whom. And we really didn't want that to be the case. So when we launched our digital version with MentorCity's help in 2018, within the first 2 years, we doubled the number of matches we could make. And now this year, we just launched our program and we're up 300% for matches. So it really has allowed us to grow and address our pain points all at the same time.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Janet. Thank you for being here and sharing that with us. Looking forward to hearing some more stories from you. Andrew,
Yes, hey everybody, and thank you, MentorCity team, for having me. So my name's Andrew Calamino. I'm a senior learning and talent development consultant for Bell Canada. So for those that don't know Bell, one of Canada's oldest and largest telecommunications companies, also going through the transition from telco to techco. So lots of cool things happening there. In supporting talent development, mentoring is a big part of my portfolio and learn as well as learning. And our philosophy, it really stems from growing what we call the three E's: education, experience, and exposure. And our biggest pain point really was maximizing the exposure element and formalizing those human connections, especially across an organization like ours that's so diverse and dynamic with different business units such as mobility, media, field services, technicians, or what have you. So a huge opportunity for us in partnering with Mentor City was to be able to connect those that don't necessarily interact with one another in the flow of work in a day-to-day basis across the company that have like for like skill sets or compatible matches to really help each other. And having a platform like Mentor City and the ability to track these engagements has been super invaluable for us.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Andrew, and again, big thanks for you for carving out some time to spend with us today. Umar, would love to hear from you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Umar here, the project coordinator at Center for Business, George Brown. For us, the biggest pain point was not having a mentoring program and not knowing how to run one. So essentially for us, it's when students graduate, they're kind of out there without a structure and lack of insights. So we want to be able to prepare them. So kind of when they get in the process, they know what to expect. Our pilot was 25 matches in fall of 2022, and we've continued to grow consistently, and Mentor City has allowed us to do that. And in our current cohort, we have 86 matches. So yes, scaling and growing, at a steady rate, I'd say.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Umar. And one thing that's really exciting for us, and as we've talked about, is the diversity in the panel that we have, and really interested and excited to hear all your perspectives coming from post-secondary education, the association space, as well as the corporate world. So what I thought we would do today is kind of have this kind of a really casual town hall style meeting. I've got 3 questions that I thought we would pose to each of you to get some unique perspectives on. And we can kind of go through each and every one of your responses and kind of go from there. So the first one that I wanted to bring up, and Janet, perhaps we'll start with you, was what are the key metrics that organizations should be using to track their mentoring programs? And how can these be used to measure program success?
Hmm. It's a good question, Justin. I think there is a lot of data that can come from your MentorCity platform. There's obvious data like your participation numbers year over year and the total matches year over year. There's never a shortage of the information that you can get your hands on. So organizations really have to look at what they want to pull out first. That becomes their own key metrics, and it might be different from organization to organization. For us, we like to look a little bit beyond the data for the bigger picture that we're seeing. So I think by that, I mean, we provide the mentorship program or our national mentorship program as a member benefit, meaning that our credit unions participate at no charge each year in our mentoring program. So we like to track data that helps us measure the member engagement, things like the percentage of credit unions that are participating, how much penetration we have, and the number of mentors and mentees that they're sending into the program. It's important for us not just to measure who is showing up, but how many people and at what level. This can be some hidden information. We've learned that if credit unions are focusing on mentorship to build bench strength, chances are it will be a good blend of leaders and frontline folks that they're actually sending into the program. This is a trigger for our team to connect with them. There may be other things that we can do as their association to support them. So it gives us a little bit of intel. We also like to ask the mentors and the mentees about their level of confidence before and after the program. We do that in the surveys. So if you ask them to respond using a number scale, then you can measure it. So as an example, if someone tells me they're at 3 out of 10 in their confidence level heading in a certain area, and they come out of the mentoring program at an 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, that's like 160 odd percent increase. That's a big number.
Mm.
And if you're looking at increased confidence, if someone's more confident, they're probably more productive. They're solving problems quicker. They may even stay in their role longer. Not to mention the quality of work tends to be higher. So productivity, problem solving, reduced turnover, and quality of work, when you put that 100+% increase in confidence and then loop that in with all of those things that stakeholders pay attention to, those are the data points that they're going to care about. The added bonus in my experience as well from a participant perspective is that increased confidence usually equals next year's participation. So the mentees who are more confident end up coming around and being tomorrow's mentors, which is an extra bonus for us. And then one more thing I tend to watch, just because I'm in professional development in the L&D space, is that those profile data points where people are declaring what they're looking to develop and skills that they're proficient in, whatever people are talking about, I can quickly and easily consolidate that to see new trends or emerging data points on things that we may look at for new programs or new product offerings. It's a really cool way to look at what folks are into or what they're looking to develop.
Great stories. I mean, I'm taking a couple notes as you're sharing, Janet, with ideas that you're kind of sharing with us. So that's fantastic. Thank you, Andrew. What about from your end? What are some of your thoughts on this topic from your side?
Yeah, thanks, Justin. It's an excellent question, and it was great to learn from you as well, Janet. There, for us at Bell, really the first and foremost, just again formalizing kind of formal tracking of our mentoring that exists within the organization, and the number of mentoring relationships that have been formulated. Then we want to get into the different purposes and themes of these relationships. So what is it that's getting people to connect? And is it, for promotion, personal development, through a situation or project? So I'd like to dive deeper on that. Then it's important for us to know the number of interested mentors and mentees we have. I mean, not one mentor can take care of thousands of people, hundreds of people. So we're trying to find that healthy ratio, that there is hopefully a match or someone that can support another looking for help. And then tying that to an inventory, a skills inventory of strengths, and like Janet was alluding to, skills to kind of quantify or qualify how many great matches we have in these different trending streams across our business or diverse streams in our business. And then from there, really leveraging our own HR BI kind of data to generate surveys, or see satisfaction scores based on the impact of relationships that have formulated performance improvements, promotions, success stories. So just taking some of that other data and really tying it to find those correlations with the program. And I'm happy to share there's an extreme difference in performance and satisfaction for those that are part of a formal mentoring relationship, as opposed to those that aren't. So that secondary support or comfort to make yourself vulnerable and get out there and develop has been extremely valuable to date.
That's great. That's great. Thank you, Andrew. Umar, what about from your angle?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, to start off, I would say matchmaking, we do it based off of, industry of interest, programs that the alumni were in, graduated from, and the students are the program that they're currently enrolled in, their job functions, and again, kind of what was mentioned before by Andrew, the amount of mentors and mentees, the eligible ones that we have, seeing that. And for us, we kind of track, we have a structured program. So we have 5 goals. So we track based on that. So every milestone that you complete, you check it off. And at the end of it, we got to see who's completed it, who's who needs reminders, who's not there yet in terms of the progress. So kind of that, and send reminders accordingly. So those are the metrics we use to get our completion percentage, which is probably the major, like the biggest indicator as to, if you have a successful mentorship program or not. So
For sure. Yeah, no, that completion percentage is a big factor. Absolutely. That's great. That's great. So the second question that I wanted to pose to everyone is, how can organizations and administrators use storytelling techniques to communicate the impact of mentoring programs and engage stakeholders at all levels of the organization? Andrew, why don't you get us started for this one?
Yeah, I love this because it is really near and dear to the marketing and learning side and driving awareness and continuous growth within this program. Uh, One of the biggest things that we foster at Bell is sharing success stories and testimonials from the different types of connections that have had positive outcomes. So we like to have people learn from each other. Basically, market from the learner inwards, and also show the variety of kind of ways that relationships can formulate in a mentoring program. So I mentioned earlier how we have such a large, diverse company. A great example, and this is a personal experience that I went through in the program, is reconnecting with a former colleague that I've lost touch with over a decade, now on the other side of the business. And, they found me just through familiarity. They saw the name, there was already a bit of a comfort there, and wanted to connect to dive into a specific need. And then, they're based on that trust and like I mentioned, just kind of the comfort. Then also you can meet others with a similar resume, who are not affiliated in your day to day, but can share that same perspective, or have to go through kind of the same, can resonate with the same challenges that you go through day to day, and really help you noodle through different things. So variety, testimonials, and really just having crowdsourcing kind of the marketing to just have our users explain to their peers the value.
Great. Umar, what are your thoughts on this?
yeah, no, definitely great takes there. For us, I would say we see a lot of mentees, especially in their final semesters or co-op semesters. So they do have that little bit of a urgency. So we want them to be workplace ready. We kind of help them with certain skills, giving advice. And as a result, they do see more responses from applications and increased chances of securing roles, but like roles within their own industries. Some of the things that we actually work on is like industry exposure, insights, career paths, resume clinics, and working on their communication. So interviewing skills as well. That's pretty huge. And it's also beneficial for mentors as well. A lot of people don't get that side of it. So they always want to give back, a lot of them. They also get access to future talent and ultimately helps them become better leaders. And our rating from last cohort was 4.7 out of 5 based on the feedback from mentors and mentees. So right now they're really liking what they're getting out of the program. So we're going to continue to build on it and get better.
That's really cool. I really like that access to future talent one, because that's it's smart. It really makes sense if you're giving back and it's that whole full cycle. Janet, what about from your side? What are your thoughts?
First, I just want to say, Umar, I can see how mentoring can really help folks find their way to their best role and bridge them in that in-between stage. Great description of what's going on there. And Andrew, I love the sharing success stories approach. I think that would be really powerful. For us, mine goes back a little bit. We launch our national mentorship program every year in April. And when the pandemic hit, and everyone went into lockdown, we didn't know what the impact was going to be in our program. So we went back to our grassroots. Our program started with our national young leaders in the credit union system. So we went back there. We asked those folks to pull out their smartphones, and we asked them to create videos during lockdown, sharing stories of what mentorship meant to them, what impact their mentor had had on them. And 4 years later, we're still looking at those videos. They ended up being very raw, very authentic, but they were really, really impactful. In the new digital age where everyone is in their system, it's that human to human contact that really hits home for people. People want to hear about real adventures from real people, and nothing builds trust like a true story. Nothing is going to engage your stakeholders faster than seeing all those people gravitate and be motivated by those true stories. So leverage the folks, leverage their messages. That will help gain attention and traction in the program, or at least that's been our experience.
I love that idea of having that human connection and those videos. It's a great tool, and one I may steal very well. Appreciate that. Last question, but not least, what's been the most impactful story that MentorCity has helped to uncover for your organization, and how did that help to drive change? Umar, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I could say something that stands out is, I'd say for all students, but uh, I would say more of an impact on international students. So it's already tough for them coming here like without a family and getting acclimated to new country, what's going on. And on top of that, there's that pressure to get that job, trying to understand how things work in new environments and the industries here. So so just kind of when they go through the program, just hearing where they were before and like how it affected them after having a mentor and working with them. And a lot of them post on LinkedIn, and some of them are pretty emotional. So it's great to see, and that's why we do it at the end of the day. And I would say former mentees also coming back as mentors because they have been there. They know what the current students are feeling. So they love to come back and give as much as they can. So I would say that those are the things that stand out the most.
That's awesome. That's a true kind of demonstration of the socio-economical trickle-down effect that a platform, like MentorCity has to offer. So that's great. Janet, what about from your end?
Um, I think for us, Justin, it's watching our national programs grow into something that's bigger and smaller all at the same time for our credit unions. So we're not only running the original program now, but we've started to branch out and we're helping scale mentorship programs in different ways that are customized by credit union or by region. So at our base, credit unions are collaborators. And in fact, cooperation amongst cooperatives is one of our guiding principles. So one of the trends that we're seeing in our sector right now is mergers, where two or more credit unions are joining forces to create an even larger financial institution. Mergers mean change. Mergers mean new things, new cultures, blending of. So some of our credit unions are exploring how mentorship and the MentorCity platform can actually help them merge teams, strengthen departments, even reinforce new cultures well in advance of something like that. And then, even in the first couple of years, if you're building your culture one match at a time, it's a very powerful way to gain buy in and help people connect through times of change. And what we've found really cool about the MentorCity platform is that the flexibility that it offers allows us to do that. So we've got the national program, but we can dedicate a space just for a specific credit union, or we can dedicate a space for a group of regional credit unions. We can move and shuffle and shake. And poor Brian, he hears from me all the time about something new that we want to do, but I love the flexibility and that I can monitor it with the data that comes out, whether we're on the right track or not.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Andrew, what about from your end?
Yeah, first off, Janet, Umar, it's been great listening to your stories as well, and well said, for sure. For me, very simply, it's the ability to access an internal database of talent that are willing to help you develop your career. And what I mean by that is, we're in a world right now where it's hard to retain good talent. There's some very unique skills or sought after skills out there that are hard to fill. And having that database internally that confidence to be able to create those human connections within our own kind of ecosystem versus those having to go into the LinkedIns of the world to find others or get overly curious externally has just been invaluable. What I've already started to see a trend in is more the likeliness to retain and grow or get promoted within for those that have connections within the platform compared to those that still have the opportunity to join. So really, again, to summarize, just building that attribute of internal connection.
No, and I think ultimately, you know, being able to leverage an internal talent pool and have that knowledge transfer occur is tremendously valuable for any organization. So thank you. And thank you all for sharing all these unique perspectives. It's really been fantastic. Any other final thoughts from anyone that anyone wanted to share before we kind of continue on in our discussion today?
We do have a question from Fred to Umar.
So we've got some Fred. So Fred is asking Umar, can you share whether the mentorship program at George Brown College has allowed for access or the opportunity for referrals from those mentors and mentees?
Sorry, I'm a little unclear, like on the referral part. Like, could you maybe expand on that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Umar. Maybe what I'm trying to ask whether those mentees that are out or alumnus that are out referring students to George Brown College because of the mentorship program.
Yeah, I think for them, unless they know the students within, then they would definitely like. I know like a couple of siblings, like they had younger siblings, so be like, hey, I went through this. You should apply to this too. So I've had like a sibling pair as well. But usually what we generally do is we have certain channels that when the applications open, they open up to the mentees, and there's some social media channels that are just for mentors. But then again, if they talk to potential students or then students, definitely tell them about it. And we have our events like homecoming we have coming on Thursday, so I'll be there talking about it as well to our future undergrads and postgrads as well. And we always mention in the orientations as well to kick it off, and always try to say that because originally it was just for postgrads, and we decided to open it up to undergrads as well. So
thank you. Got it.
Great question.
Janet has a final thought.
Please.
I'd love to share a final thought if there's time. Sure.
Absolutely.
So we've been at it. This is our 7th year running the program. And as I said, we've kind of branched off. So there's a couple of programs going at more than one time. There's bound to be times when engagement dips in your mentorship program and you're trying to find out how do you get people engaged and get them back in. Don't discount leveraging your event, your resources, your discussion area, even your groups, all the tools that are available in the platform. So we've found if you and your team are leveraging those areas for fun activities like do a lunch and learn or do a book club, there's a place to share information. If your leadership wants to post something, that tends to pull people in and it drives higher levels of engagement. It gets them in the platform and then they get talking. So for us, it also gave us a few more insights because we can gather the data on that. So I'm a little bit selfish. I like to gather that too, but use those areas, use everything that's available to you.
I love that, Janet. Just to jump in on that, that is an opportunity area for us as well, where we find people make that initial connection and then kind of go about their way. But there's so much to track and do and build those relationships in the flow of what the tool offers. Like that is just such a great. Now I got my pen going, but there's lots of ideas that I could see within our ERG groups or things that we have within our organization that can really to stick to that. And I just really want to quickly add as well, Justin, if we're good on time, going back to kind of the confidence score that Janet talked about earlier with mentors, and I love what you said, Umar, about that give back, and those that have gone through the program that now want to give back to the new students, is really honing in on the value to a mentor. That personal satisfaction that you get from seeing somebody succeed in an objective or goal that they had, that you were able to help them get to in that relationship, whether it's being promoted, reaching a certain status or in a program or what have you. I think just that what's in it for the mentor, in addition to what's in it for a mentee, is such a good marketing stream to build on, in addition to the types of connections. And lastly, for those that don't know, like mentors, there is credits that you can get towards certification designations on mentor hours and being part of programs like this. So if you're able to connect that and market that too within your scope of drawing traffic, I think that's a good thing to share. So really appreciate.
Thank you all, and once again, Andrew, Janet, Umar, really appreciate you spending time with us and preparing for today. Obviously, you put some thought into these questions. So big thanks from our end, and in sharing with this really interesting insights from each of these unique perspectives. So it was really insightful and valuable. So thank you once again. Before we move on here, I thought we would just I want to introduce Brian to everybody. Brian is our senior account manager, and he's going to take us through a little bit more of I gave the sneak peek. Now he will give the sneak peek of the new feature reveal. So I'm going to turn it over to him. Brian.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. So yeah, we're really excited to announce a new functionality. As part of our admin intelligence suite, what we've done is we've refined our capabilities around generating stats within MentorCity. We're excited to announce that launching today is a new feature called Member Stats. What this does is it allows you to create custom charts that really help you dive deeper into the statistics of your program, which will allow you to tell better stories from your members with using their information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sharing my screen, and I'm going to take you through this new feature, how you can access it. And then after the presentation, or of course, as I'm showing it to you, you can kind of follow along on your end if you have access to it. So let me share my screen. Can you see that? Just thumbs up, yeah? Perfect, okay. So in the admin dashboard, everyone should, or most of you should be very familiar with this page. Under our statistics, which we've had here for a long time, we still have the kind of out-of-the-box statistics that you're familiar with. That's not changing at all. What is changing is this new tab up here that says Member Stats. What this does is it generates different tables based on pretty much all the information from within MentorCity. So I can view like overall, and what I'm doing right now is seeing the favorites ones. I'll tell you how to kind of add something to favorites in just a moment. But we have all these different categories that you can look through. So if I want to say, let's say development areas, I can click on search. I can click on that, click on search by term, and it will start filtering out the graphs that are related to development areas. So I can see skills, and I can see the different skills that I have on my program. This will kind of update with your specialized skills development areas, and it will show you what the gaps are, how many members have that in their profile. And I can even go a little bit further into that if I, let's say, type in here leadership. So it'll focus right on leadership. If I want to focus on just one skill, I can kind of choose that. And now what I can do as well is we do have PDF, CSV, and copy buttons. So the copy button, that will add it to your clipboard, where then you can add it to a report you're maybe making for higher ups that's on a Word document or something like that. A PDF, it will generate a PDF of this specific graph. Which then you can attach to that report or an email or whatever. And then we also have CSV, which will just download a regular CSV file of this one graph. And what you'll be able to do with that then is filter it out further using Excel's tools. Now, one other cool thing that I want to show you is if I click on custom fields, you can actually generate some charts based on the custom fields that you have in your program. So some that you might have years of experience and employee resource groups. So I want to see within the different resource groups, how many years of experience members usually have. So I can click on custom fields. I can choose employee resource group for this box, years of experience for this one, and I can go search terms. And it will show custom. And I can then view all the different ERGs here and the years of experience. Now, if I want to see it the other way, it's just as simple as choosing it the other way. Click on search by terms, and there you go. I have that chart. I can copy it, I can PDF it, and I can even search if I want to dig deeper down into it as well. Okay. What I can also do is if I'm seeing that I'm looking at this chart, multiple times or once a day, instead of having to, select everything to bring it up, I could just click on this favorite button. And now what we'll do is if I go to favorites, it will be right here, right on top. So you can always just come back to this, click on favorites, and it will keep that. It will keep that information there. One more thing I want to show you. This goes back to admin intelligence. If I go back to custom field, kind of do the employee resource group, years of experience again, click on custom. If I continue scrolling down, it will then start showing me information that the system thinks that I might want to see. So suggesting different information. Maybe there's maybe a chart on here that will be useful to you that you never really even thought of. So the system will generate some recommendations for you, and you can do everything you want with those ones too. You can favorite them if you end up noticing you're going back to them, or you can copy that to your clipboard or download a PDF of that one as well. And we generate a few different ones for each. So feel free to start looking at it, start playing around with the data, start looking at it. We have lots of information there. And of course, if you have any questions, you know where to reach out to. And Sean, I'm going to pass it back over to you now.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. I just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for coming today. It's really a pleasure to have a group of people on the call and sharing insights, knowledge, creative best practices. I've learned a ton, and I love hearing all these great ways you're tracking data and stories. I want to also thank our panel. Janet, thank you so much for coming today. Umar as well, and Andrew, thank you. This means a lot that you've taken some time out of your day to share with us. And it's about mentoring culture and community, and that's what we're here today doing together. Justin, thank you for facilitating this event and coming up with the idea for storytelling and data. I thought it was an amazing idea. We're so happy that it's turned out the way it has. And Brian, thank you for demoing our new feature. And, and, and that was wonderful, showcasing it the way you did. Admin intelligence, what our vision for admin intelligence is to continue building our admin intelligence to make administrators' jobs a lot easier. But also, we want to make every mentoring program succeed. We want it to be successful. And that means even greater program or participant engagement. So over the next while, you're going to see more enhancements that will help you create amazing, amazing mentoring programs, because that's what it's all about, creating communities within your organizations that drive business goals. So we're excited to have you on this journey with us. And one of our key values, and Brian walks the walk every day, is customer service and responsiveness. So anytime you want to meet with us to learn more about admin intelligence or dive into anything, even where we're going on our product roadmap, you could always book a call with us. So thanks again for joining. I'll just pass it on to Justin if there's anything that I forgot to mention.
I think you did a great job. Thank you, Sean, as always, leading the way. No, just a big thanks, just wrapping up, a big thank you all to the panelists, all the folks that spent some time with us today. Hopefully you had some interesting takeaways. Please, like Sean said, if you have any questions, if you want to learn more, whatever it might be, don't hesitate to reach out to either to Brian, to myself, even just to our general info at line. Someone will get back in touch with you. And again, thank you all for your time. Does anyone have any questions before we wrap up? I know obviously we had some questions throughout, but did anyone have any questions before we look to wrap up today?
I know there's some messages in the chat, so Danielle's going to take us up on that offer. This is great, very informative. Thank you to the speakers. Shahina, thank you. Melanie, thanks so much, very informative. Eric, thank you. Really enjoyed hearing from you all. Fred, thank you. So a lot of thank you so much for all these wonderful comments.
Yeah, no, thank you all for your feedback. Appreciate that. And once again, appreciate everybody's time today. Really excited about this new feature. We think it's going to really help everyone to continue to tell really interesting stories and dive into the data that we're investing into this platform. And we're really excited about what the future holds. So we're excited to go on this path with every one of you and to build the MentorCity family. And, without further ado, we'll wrap up and look forward to the next webinar.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, everyone, take care.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.